तेषां प्रकृतयो रजसत्वामो भुव रजसत्वामो भुव या विमूतानि धर्मन्ते भूतानां मध्यस्तथा यथा प्रकृति सर्वेषां चित्रवाच स्रवन्ति चित्रवाच स्रवन्ति. He says, I've taught this concept to many over the ages, not only in this. Remember, Hinduism understands and believes that we have existed, that the world has come to a dissolution many times. That is, there was a deluge, the world was flooded, all things were removed, and then we started from fresh. It is called Kalp. The Kalp, or the age of Kali Yuga, was coming and one was going away. And he says before that, Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, many different periods existed where humanity existed exactly like this, and they had all of the same movie was played over and over again. But it was a beginning. And he says, in this age, in this Kali Yuga age, people will take the message that I've given them and interpret it in different ways. Thus, owing to the personality of others, of everyone, my teachings will be interpreted differently. He goes on to explain. Evam prakriti ve chatra dharenam te matayo nidam parayanto kesham chitpa kandhayo pare kandhayo pare. Thus, owing to the difference of the nature of the individuals of the world, people differ in their ideas, while some differ in owing to the instructions based on what I was taught when I was little. That's how I understand it. Based on the opinion I developed by my observation, that's how I relate to it. Now, all of us grow up in a different environment, and certain things we see, we accept them as normal, and then we even put it in part of our kriya, our activity. You know, we as Hindus are prone to do this puja regularly, but we also do Satyanarayana Bhagwan puja, and we read the Vrat Katha. We do this. On when? What occasion? Full moon. So we call it full moon Katha. There is this family that used to do full moon Katha. It was the father's tradition that full moon Katha was done every month. And the family made all the preparation, all the children, the sons in particular, were ordered to be there and to prepare. And then, as soon as the Pandit will about to come, the father will tell the elder son, go and get that dog and tie it. The son will go dutifully, get the dog, tie the dog up. Pandit will come, he'll do it, puja, go away, they will let the dog go. The years went by and the father passed away. The family distributed into different parts of the world, and then one day they had a family reunion. And the eldest son says, I'm sure all of us think of our father from time to time, but the one thing that we don't do, we've all stopped doing this puja. Maybe we should get together and do this puja again. They all agreed unanimously. A date and time was set. It will all happen at the eldest son's home. Everybody gathered together, and then as the moment will come after lunchtime, Panditjis are arriving. The word comes to the Panditjis here. The eldest son says, hold it a minute. Stop. What's wrong? We don't have a dog. Get the neighbor's dog and let's tie it up. How many of you didn't get this joke yet? In life, many of us go through this. We see something happen and we accept it, but we never think it's the reasoning behind it. And many of us do this. We don't try to comprehend the reasoning, to understand the point of view of the other situation. Before concluding as to why it's there, we accept that that is the way it is. And that is why in Hinduism we have so many customs also. and traditions that is very hard to break away. If you don't have a dog, don't tie one up. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. I'm sure some people did not quite understand this statement. Let me elucidate a little bit. That the fact that the parents and the family were always doing this, and they had a dog, and the dog was very mean to the Pandit. He would pull his dhoti once in a while when he comes in. The father says, tie the dog up. But that was not a tradition. The years went by, they didn't have a dog, they didn't need to tie one up. But some of us get stuck to things that happened in the past, and we get so stuck on them, nobody can change our way of thinking. Bhagwan Krishna is telling Uddhav that, yes, this exists, and in this day and age, this will be. As we have started this Bhagwat Katha, I must tell you, we've had many advice. From many people, Panditji, the asan must be made this high. Or no, it must be this wide. It must be that long. None of them is making the asan. I'm making it. But they're all deciding how to be made. And then, once we started the yajna, oh Panditji, this mantra must be said, and that puja must be done. And the Pandit who knows this, he's doing what he knows. So everyone comes with their own idea, even how the Pandit should dress. Pandit, you should wear a pagri. And I says no, because if I have a pagri in my head, I'll be worrying about how it sits. And so, but everyone comes up and everybody has advice, always with good advice. Nothing is wrong with that. But then we are given the power of discrimination to say, well, okay, I will understand, listen, and make decisions. Bhagwan Krishna tells Uddhav that in this day and age, everybody will be a decision maker. In his age, father and mother made a decision and children followed blindly. But he says in this age, was he right? Was he? You mean parents don't make all the decisions anymore? They just pay the bills, is that it? They decide, well, we'll pay and pay and pay. There's no question of not paying. They just pay bills and children make a decision. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Dharmameke Yashadyantam Kamam Satyam Damam Shramam Anye Varanti Kyayam Va Eshwatyagya Bhojanam Kichidhyadhyana Puranam Vratani Niyamachyamam Adhyantavatya Evesham Lokah Karma Vinirmita Lokah Karma Vinirmita. As a means to the goal, of getting close to me, Krishna is telling Uddhav, many will mention that the way to get to Krishna is to perform your duty. Do your duty. Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita was told by Krishna, do your duty, Arjuna. And he says, others will say, okay, it's self-gratification. That pleasing, doing everything that's pleasant to the mind and get all the joy that you can. And when you do that, you will realize God. Some people even say that sexual gratification is a way of getting to God. Some philosophies have that. Bhagwan Krishna is telling Arjuna, yes, this will happen in this age. He says, some will say, to being truthful, being honest in all your dealings, this will get you to God. Some will say controlling of the senses will get you to God. Some will say controlling of the mind will get you to God. And others will mention that if you give all the right dhan, if you give this much money to the Brahmin and you give this much gold at that time and so on, that will get you to God. Some will say if you do Havan every day, you do Satyanarayana Puja every day, that will get you to God. If you give charity always, that will get you to God. If you have moral values, that will get you to God. All of these are the world that we live in. Yes, people live and have, well, I'm following the Karma Yoga, the Jnana Yoga, and so on and so on. Different ways. And everybody said, look, I'm a good person, I'm doing this, I'm giving charity. Let's talk with the charity factor. Bhagwan Krishna is relating to Uddhav, by the way, the ideal way. And he's describe all of these, meaning that they are not the ideal way. So is Krishna telling us not to give charity anymore? Is he telling us not to have any value system or discipline or to be truthful? Is he telling us not to enjoy the pleasure of the senses? He's saying no. You can do all of these things and still not be devoted to me. You can give all the charity in the world like Atma Dev. Atma Dev was giving charity because he wanted God to do something for him. Many of us live in the world and we do all of the quote-unquote right things. We wear the right clothes, we drive the right car, we have the right education, we have the good looks, nice body, and I don't mean the ladies. And we hang out with the right people, we go to the right nightclubs, we go to the right bars, we go to the Ram Mandir. We do all of the above. But does that mean we have bhakti? Bhagwan Krishna says, those are not the signs and symptoms of bhakti. There is a bhajan to the Divine Mother. Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai 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 Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Varde, 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 Vrindavanini Varde, 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 Vrindavanini Varde, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, कविता कहता है वरदे वरदे वरदे. The poet is saying that the devotee is saying, bless me, bless me, bless me, O mother. What kind of blessings do we want? निर्बल मन कर दे, प्रेम तुल कर दे, ओ निर्मल मन कर दे, प्रेम तुल कर दे, ओ निर्मल मन कर दे, प्रेम तुल कर दे, ओ निर्मल मन कर दे, प्रेम तुल कर दे, सबकी सबल मची दे, ऐसा हमको वर दे, 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 वीणा भाविनी वर दे, मा सभी तालियां.
जय जय मां जय मां जय जय मां जय मां जय जय मां जय जय मां
बोलो.
जय जय मां जय मां जय जय मां जय मां
सर्व मंगल मांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते नारायणी नमोस्तुते. वरदे 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 वीणा वागे Bless me, bless me, bless me. What do I want? निर्मल मन कर दे प्रेम तुल कर दे. Bless me with nirmal man, a pure mind. Now, Bhagwan Krishna says, people will say duty is the way. People will say charity is the way. People will say having values is the way. People will say doing good is the way. But none of those things will have value if we don't do it with a pure mind. Nirmalaman. Nirmalaman prem, and that mind that is filled with love. Savki savalamati, and then all of our actions will be fruitful, juicy fruitful, sweet fruitful, not bitter fruitful. There are bitter fruits in the world, you know. Lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of this lemon is bitter, bitter, bitter. You don't know that song? Come on, what age are you from? Trini Lopez. Lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet. There. Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki. Obviously, I was born in a different time than you people. So, there is bitter, you get fruits. But many of us have worked hard, and when we get the fruits, it is not a good taste. Atmadev worked very hard for the son. Finally, he got Dundukari. And Dundukari made his life so miserable, he wished he didn't have a son. The point is, Bhagavan Krishna is telling Uddhav that, oh Dev, in this day and age, doing all of these things will only have value if it is supported by a foundation of what? Bhakti. Bhakti. This bhakti, this devotion is the key. That if you do not have this devotion, and what is this thing called devotion? We started out with a statement that a child should be devoted to their education, but they have this device that they spend more time on. And how much of that time is in education is questionable. We all are living life and doing all the things that we do, but how much of that time is in doing that we are devoted to God while we do? In chapter 12 of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna explained to Arjuna, Tadu Arjuna, Atachitam samadhatu na shaknoshi manishira abhyasa yogena tato mamikshatum dhananjaya mamikshatum dhananjaya. He says, I want you to fix your mind upon me, Arjuna. Have that kind of devotion that you're always fixed upon me. Now, if I say that to someone, Panditji, if I think of God all the time, when will I do what I have to do? You mean we cannot multitask? We cannot think of God and do what we're doing. But we live in the age of multitasking. We can chew gum, speak in the cell phone, drive our car. What else can we do, Anil? Are we doing that? Anil? We could drink coffee, right? We could swear at the passerby who pulled over in front of us. We're multitasking, and at the same time we're listening to music. Wow! You mean we cannot think of God while we do everything else? That's too difficult? That's what Bhagavan Krishna is telling Arjuna. He says, I know, Arjuna, although I tell you to focus upon me, Adhachitam samadhatum. He said, this man is very chanchal. It will be all over the place about thinking about me. When he should think about me in the morning, he's thinking about food, breakfast. When he should think about me at noontime and the sun is at the meridian, he's thinking about lunch. When he should think about me when evening time, he's thinking about the traffic on the 401. Never time to think about me. He said, Abhyasa Yoga. He said, a little bit every day. This thinking about God. Now, what's the difference between thinking and worrying? I asked a question last night. Some people worry about God, I wonder if God is doing okay. I must tell you, and this is not meant in a derogatory sense. One Sunday morning, I was getting ready to come to Mandir, and I was just about to open the door, and someone knocked on the door. And I opened the door, and there were 3 very nice-looking people. 2 gentlemen and a lady dressed in suit, and the lady very nicely attired. Good morning, sir. We're just here to have a few minutes with you. I said, actually, I'm leaving now to go to my place of worship. We wouldn't be long, sir. And I have the tradition, you don't let anybody turn away from your door. So I said, please step inside, take your shoes off. They did. And I sat them down in the sitting room. And I said, I don't have much time, I'm leaving now. And I was dressed like this. Even much better looking than this. I had black hair then. And I'm seated there, and I said, well, how can I help you? Well, sir, today we're here to tell you how you will be able to make God happy. I chuckled, I laughed. I said, you're kidding. I said, sir, if God is waiting on me to make him happy, that fellow will never ever be happy. Don't ever think whatever you and I are doing is about to make God happy. He's beyond this happiness and unhappiness that you and I know. We say that in a figure of speech. Oh, God will be happy with you. God is never unhappy with you. He doesn't care if you want to kill the whole world, he's never unhappy with you. He said, that's your problem. You kill the world and you pay for it. I'll make sure you get what you deserve. Bhagwan is sarva karma phaladata. He says, you do whatever you do, I will make sure you get it. I want to conclude our Katha tonight because it's 8:47. But I want to bring it to a brief summary. We will continue this Katha tomorrow morning at 8. And then we may finish by the 1 o'clock session. Because tomorrow evening we're doing Krishna Janam. So we will be talking about the discourse between Bhagwan Krishna and Uddhav. And today Bhagwan Krishna is explaining to Uddhav that the world that we see, which will be perceived to be devotion, is questionable. Because devotion has only one foundation. That is purity of thought, purity of mind, purity of intention. He says, when there is that man pavitra hai, when there is that nirmal state of mind that is filled with pure divine love, he says, then all the charity and all these other things have value. If not, they are merely mechanical portrayal and presentations. It's like, the person who's giving a gift to someone every year and said, I'm giving you a gift every year. And they're going through mechanically because someone says, make sure you give them a gift every year, okay? And they have it on the list, give them a gift every year. Why? I don't know. I don't care. Just give them a gift. And they, you're giving a gift every year. That's very good. Oh, yeah. And then somebody said, why are you giving them a gift? I don't know. Maybe they feel good if I give them a gift. No care. As such, I was about to share with you something that I forgot what I was going to share. How many of us have a new car? Relatively new car. With a GPS system. Nobody have a car with a GPS system? Wanna put your hands up. Shivi. Good. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. How many of you have your own GPS in your cell phone? Everybody come on. Good. Good. Now, what does GPS mean, Andrew? Global Position System. GPS. Good. From tonight, you'll have a new meaning to the acronym GPS. Now, how does this thing work? You get in your car and you pull it up and you enter the address. And you know, they're so good. You enter the number, the minute you enter the street, it will actually give you the location and everything and says, you want to go there? Yup. And then it says, ready to go, navigation commence. You click, and then a nice voice comes on, very pleasant. Proceed 2 kilometers and turn right. I can't even say it. They're so pleasant. And then you drive, and you go 2 kilometers and you turn left. And she says, you idiot, didn't I tell you to turn right? She says nicely, recalculating. And then she says to you, not only recalculating, go 3 kilometers and turn right. You get 3 kilometers and you go straight. She says, what's the matter with you? You don't know where you're going? She says, no. Even more pleasantly, recalculating. Not recalculating. Recalculate. And you know, as many mistakes as you make, she will say, recalculating, recalculating. She will never say, hey, are you sure you know where you're going? Do you want to change your address? Do you know what you're doing? None of those things. Because you know why? She is the God positioning system. And let me explain again in more depth. God says, you tell me where you want to go. And the minute you set your destination, my job is to recalculate until you get there. If you stumble 100 times, you fall into deep holes, whatever it is, I am there to get you out, get going. But unless you change your destination, I am not going to intervene. What did Bhagwan Krishna do in the battle between the Kauravas and the Pandavas? He drove a chariot. He says, you guys fight. I'm out of this. Bhagwan Sarva Karma Phaladata Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namo Bolo Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namo Jai Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Radhe Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Radhe Radhe Gopal Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe हाथ दो तालियां Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Radhe Radhe Gopal Radhe 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 Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Radhe Gopal Radhe Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Radhe Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Radhe राधे गोपाल राधे
गोविंद राधे राधे गोपाल राधे
गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे
गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे जय श्री राधे
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे
गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे राधे
राधे राधे गोपाल राधे
गोविंद राधे राधे गोपाल राधे
गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे
गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे राधे
गोविंद राधे गोपाल राधे
गोविंद राधे 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 राधे गोपाल राधे
राधे
गोविंद राधे
श्री श्याम राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे
गोविंद राधे जय जय श्री राधे बोलो
जय जय श्री राधे
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 कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की Let me take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you here tonight, especially our two pandits who've come from the mandir and this Kirtan Mandiri who have came to participate in our yajna. Let's give them a big hand, please. कौन पहले बार आए हैं? Who's come to Ram Mandir for the first time on a, it's Monday, isn't it? On a Monday night. Any newcomers? One? Very good. But I know Deepika is here for the first time on a Monday night. We are very fortunate to have with us a very wonderful young lady. And I speak about her not because of a political aspirations and position, but because she's a devotee of Ram Mandir. Deepika Dharmelia has been involved in politics for quite some time, but has always come to Mandir regularly, and no one knew that she was here as a devotee. I, of course, knew this. And she's been working tirelessly for her constituents, not only the Hindus, but everyone in her constituent. She has taken on some very, very aggressive and some meaningful projects to keep people connected with their roots. And in the Hindu context, she's been working tirelessly with us to help us to get a place that will be sanctified and identified as a place to dispose of our cremation ashes of our departed relatives. And in this regard, she has been tremendously helpful. And we've secured not only one site in Pickering, but another one in Bronte Park in Oakville. And she continues to work tirelessly. And we are very happy to have her here with us today. On this, the occasion, we are celebrating our 15th anniversary. And I would like to have her say a few words to all of us. Give her a big hand, please. आइए इधर से आइए
Namaskar. Pandit ji, what a beautiful, beautiful discourse.
एक मिनट take another microphone please.
I'd like to begin by thanking Pandit ji for a lovely, lovely discourse. Thank you so much. I'd forgotten completely about the Bhakta of Krishna Bhagwan that you
Uddhav.
talked about, Uddhav, because we always think, I thought, oh, he's going to again talk about Arjun, but of course Pandit ji's knowledge is so deep. I just want to wish all of us, not you, but all of us, because I'm a Hindu too. Uh, Congratulations on 15 years of Ram Mandir. Panditji, you said some people worry about God, and I know you meant it in jest. I don't worry about God, but there are times when I used to worry about our faith. I don't worry about it so much anymore. And when I say I used to worry about our faith is, when I first came to Canada 20 years ago, 24 years ago, I don't know if I've shared this story with you before, but it still reminds me of how much Canada has changed in 24 years. My first Diwali, I did not even know that Diwali had come and gone. Because as you know, we don't have a fixed date, and I was studying at the University of Toronto, and there was nothing to remind me, especially living downtown. I mean, if I'd lived with, I guess, maybe older generations, I would have. There was absolutely nothing around me to remind me of this such an important festival. And it had come and gone, and I had not even noticed. From there to where we have as a community come is so remarkable, so remarkable. And so because of the efforts of people like Pandit Sharma, I don't worry about our faith anymore in Canada, because I know that we are well on our way. And Panditji has really led the way. He was just referring to the cremation file. He's been fighting this battle for a long time, and all I'm doing is the ability to help a little bit. So I'm working with Panditji, because what Panditji just referred to is a very small thing, which is, but very symbolic. And I want to speak to that for a minute. As many of you know, for a very long time now, well, almost at least, I think for 7 or 8 years, it has been perfectly legal to scatter our ashes anywhere on provincial land. But the challenge is most Ontarians don't know that. So what happens is often the Hindu community isn't sure, is it okay, is it not okay? And the non-Hindu community, if they were to see you scattering those ashes, sometimes might question you, right? And this is a very emotional thing we are doing, saying goodbye. It's a very important part of our Antim Sanskar. And I want it to take place in an environment where there's no confusion, where no Hindu should in Ontario feel, am I doing the right thing? Is it okay for me to do this? And so we've been working with the Ministry of Natural Resources, and for the very first time, there's a board that has gone up at Bronte Park that clearly says that it is legal to scatter your ashes in this park. It's a sign not only for Hindus, but for everybody else to know that this is perfectly legal. It may seem like a small thing, this board, but it's a huge step symbolically for the government to recognize. So it's no longer, yeah, it's on the book somewhere and those who know. It is now, for the first time, we're saying it openly and clearly. So thank you, Panditji, for starting this. And I'm very grateful to Premier Kathleen Wynne, who, after such a long time, made this happen. So I'm really proud as a community of how far we've come. And the final thing I just want to say is that this mandir has a special, special place, because I can even now remember all of the times I have come here when there's no puja, when there's no Panditji, when I've come and prayed to this Vigneshwara, this Ganesh Murti right here, asking for success. Sometimes I've failed, sometimes I've succeeded. But Panditji, what you don't know is my bhakti in that Murti is very personal. So thank you so much for everything that you do. And I also know that we're having Krishnashtami, so also happy Krishnashtami celebrations to all of you. And I look, even though I don't come to the mandir as often as I would like to, I do want to say one thing. I pray every night, because faith is the only thing that keeps a politician like me sane with all of the stress, and I know this is true for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deepika. In the changing world, where the demographics in this country are changing, where people of our origin are becoming more present. I remember when I came to Canada in 1970. Yes, 1970. And I would travel in the streetcars of Toronto, and if I saw another brown-skinned person, I used to say, oh my God, there's another one. Today, if you travel in streetcars of Toronto, you're looking for the white people. And that's not intended to be derogatory. Recently, I went to Indira's school. It was Diwali, and she said, Dad, I talked to the principal, and they would like you to come and talk to the students. I said, fine. So I got there in the morning, and I went to there in the gym. I walked into the gym, and it was all brown, or black, or Chinese. That's what Brampton will be for the next 10 years. And what she said about, when she was here as a young student, not being able to find the familiarity of our culture and how we have changed and how we have grown. We must all be very proud of one thing. We must be proud of this country called Canada. Let's give a big hand for Canada. Regardless of what the politicians may do or say, Canada is still a great nation and still one of the best places to live in the world. When we look around, we must appreciate it. For those of us who have come to Canada and are struggling to make ends meet, let us remember that no one came here and met a bed of roses. No one came here and met a bed of roses. Anyone who did, maybe it's those who came within the last 10 years. If you came here in the 1970, it was not a bed of roses. I can tell you that. I came then. Let me give you briefly a scenario. I arrived at Toronto Airport on March 11th. It had the worst snowstorm in history. I think they had about 5 feet of snow on the ground. And I was in New York 2 years prior, so I knew what a winter was. So I came, someone was supposed to pick me up at the airport. And I came with just a suit jacket. And then I stepped out, the gentleman who came with me came by subway to pick me up and bus. And he didn't bring a coat, he just brought a pair of gloves for me. And he says, look, I brought you a pair of gloves. So a pair of gloves and my suit jacket, and it was about -2 with 5 feet of snow. What a way to be welcomed to Canada. After I spent 2 weeks, 3 weeks here, I came as a visitor, like people were doing in those days, to get settled in. And I applied for landed immigrant status. And then, as the date was coming up for my interview, which used to be very quick, within 2 months you got an interview, 1 week before I got chicken pox. And believe you me, I looked horrible. And I went to my interview with the chicken pox. The man who interviewed me didn't want to see me. I didn't know better. Of course, I failed the interview by 4 points or something like that. So here I am in Canada with all these hopes and everything applied. I have chicken pox. I failed the interview. What do I tell my family? I can't tell them anything because I said I wanted to come. Going home is not an option. Stayed here, so whatever money I brought with me, I was in New York, and that time the country I lived in, the government had made restriction that the most money you could leave the country with was $50 American. How long would that last? So after a couple of days, you're broke. And the people who came to receive me, the man said to me, I had made an arrangement that I will contribute so much money a month for boarding and lodging. When he discovered that I failed my interview and I didn't have much money, he says, find a cheaper place to stay. The realities are that life went on. But the struggles were many. But ultimately, there was always a light, a shining light somewhere. I did jobs that if I tell my children, they would never believe, Dad, you did that? Yes, I did. I was a small fellow, and good-looking small fellow anyway. And when I went to look for jobs, at this place it used to be called Employment Overload. I don't know if it still exists. You'd get the day job or a couple of hour jobs. And the guy saw me and says, I got a job for you. No problem. 2 days work. No problem. He said, you're just the right size. I said, what do you mean? He said, don't worry about it. They take me to this place where they're cleaning out boilers. They need somebody to go into the boiler. And the hole is this big, you could pass in, go in and clean the boiler. And the boilers had black soot. When I got into this boiler, it took me 1 week to get all this stuff out of my hair and ears. That was easy, that was fun actually. Then I got another job, unloading from the railway tracks, sacks of things that looked like cement, was heavy like cement, but was actually a black ash. Well, I was very strong, so throwing it on the back and moving it. I did that for 2 days. After that, my nostrils got clogged up, my ears got clogged up, and I was black more than I can even imagine. So those were the 2 fun jobs. But then I had some experience, I must tell you. I did wash dishes in New York. But when I came to apply for a dishwasher job in Canada, you know what they said to me? You have to have Canadian experience. So I couldn't get a job as a dishwasher even although I had American experience. It wasn't valuable here. And then one day I wrote my letter to my mother and father telling them that I am coming home. Got the return ticket ready, packed my little lunch, and I'm going out to see what happens. I go to this employment overload place that day, and the guy says, go home, put a tie on and come back. I go home, I put a tie on. He says, okay, I got a job for you. Okay, what? He said, you're going to work for the Canadian Red Cross. What am I going to do? He said, they're looking for a mail clerk, somebody to deliver mail. I said, I got that experience. I did that in New York too. I got this job at Canadian Red Cross, and the rest of it is history. So don't think that life is easy, people. It might look like fun to you. My children don't even know half of this. They're hearing it now. Dad, why come you didn't tell us this? And in that job, by the way, I learned how to print. Just techno machines were in process. We used to print leaflets and pamphlets by the millions for the Red Cross. I learned to print, and then I did all my immigration reviews by myself. I opened up the phone book, and there's a blue section in the phone book that have all government numbers. Everybody's telling me you got to pay a lawyer $500. I says, me? I don't have $50. What am I going to pay a lawyer $500? And they said, you get the review. So I called the lawyer up and said, well, for initial $50, I'm not going to mention the name of the lawyers, $50. I said, I don't have that. But he said, by the way, in order for me to get to know how bad you failed, I need to send in a review, and that will cost you $500. So one day I'm sitting in the office, I open up this phone book, and it says all the numbers of Immigration Review Board and whatnot. I got on the phone, dialed the number, and somebody answered, hello, yes. Is there a way I can get the information on my interview? What was it? Yes, you can. Just write a letter. I said, I don't need a lawyer. I said, no, you just write a letter with the details and they send it to you. I wrote a letter and they sent it to me. They told me I failed because I did not give any references to that I worked. And I did work in New York at a bank as a teller and so on. Get that reference? Call the bank up. They send me a letter. 2 months later, I'm a landed warrant. Didn't pay a lawyer or anything. The point is, I learned that there is a way if there is a will. God always opened the books, the blue pages, the Canadian Red Cross, and things became a reality. Now, we all have challenges in life. Sometimes we need to hear each other's stories. But everybody comes to Canada and says, oh, Pandit Sharma has a big house. He has 4 cars. I want a big house and 4 cars. You didn't ask, how did you start out, by the way? When Sumi was pregnant with Indira, oh, it was a real classic. The poor lady would get morning sickness every day. She will vomit in every subway train all the way to work. And I would have to go along with her. We didn't have a car. And then when the snow is coming, I'm walking along and I say, oh God, when am I going to get a car? I finally get a car and I can't get a driver's license. I fail the driving test. When then I said, okay, Indira is a baby, we have to still take her to the babysitter. I said, look, I have a car, I'll drive her. So one morning I'm driving her without a license. Don't tell anybody. And I have an accident. And the police came. And I got charged for driving without a license. Indira has a bump on her head, that's why it's, And the insurance says, we cannot pay for your accident because you are driving without a license. Here I am, I have a car, no insurance, no driver's license, and I'm facing all kinds of criminal charges. Of course, like Deepika, I prayed. And I called the insurance adjuster, and the man, when there was a woman who said, tell me, have you tried to get a license? Yes, I did, I failed. Go try again. If you can get a license within a week, I'll make this thing all disappear. I said, within a week? I can't get an appointment. He says, go on standby. Just go there every morning and stand by. And if they miss one, you'll get in. But pass, you make sure you pass. So I go first morning, stand by, nothing happens. Second morning, they call me, drive. I go and I drive, and I passed. All went away. Prayers are powerful. So don't tell me about your problems, people. I can tell you stories that will make your hair curl, right? Sri Krishnaya Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Today we are very happy to have with us Panditji Ai. It is a privilege that when we have a function, that we invite different mandirs and they do respond by their priests attending us, and it's our honor and privilege to bestow upon them a simple appreciation, Abhinandan. Give them a big hand. And Deepika, you are also in store for one of these. Please come. I want you to know these are my special shawls. It is my color and my shawl, and I hope all of you will wear it with joy. Om Mangalang Bhagavana Vishnu Mangalang Garudaja
Mangalam Pundarikaksha Mangalayatano
Chandra Bhagavan Ki Jai. And the MC will do the final words. Thank everybody. And then Aarti.
Once again, everyone, Sitaram and Namaste. And now you've been a part of our 5th session of our Bhagwat Katha. And I'm sure, as I mentioned earlier, it's been a very meaningful experience for all of you. And we hope that you continue to join us. For those of us who've been here for the last few days and have been coming for the 3 sessions, it's been a very small group, but I can tell you it's been a very meaningful experience. So if you have the time and you have the will and you would like to come and join us, do so. Don't hesitate. Whether there's 2 people or 3 people, every session has been meaningful. We also want to thank the Rameshwar Mandir for coming out and supporting us today and their group. Let's give them a big round of applause once again. And we also want to let you know that today, as I said earlier, our Priti Bhoj is sponsored by the Vishwakarma Group. Let's give them a big round of applause. And it's the Monday group as well, the regular Monday service that we have, usually it's our Shiva Puja on Mondays, but because of our Bhagwat Katha, we've adjusted it. But our regular Monday group, those people who come here regularly for that Monday worship,